The planet was covered in endless ice. The sky was always dark and the wind never stopped howling. It was like winter had taken over forever. Even the brightest star in the system could not warm this frozen land. Commander Eva Mirek stood by, the frosted window of Outpost Delta. Her eyes followed the heavy snow falling outside, blurring everything. The weather report was worse than usual. A mega storm was forming, one stronger than anything Glacis 9 had seen in decades. Evacuation is not possible, her AI assistant Nora said in its calm voice. Wind speeds reaching 280 kilometers per hour. No vehicles can travel safely. Eva sighed. She wasn't expecting to leave anyway. This outpost was one of the last human research stations on the Outer Rim. It studied alien ice formations and monitored deep space signals. Not very exciting, but it was home for now. She turned away from the window and checked the station systems. Power was stable. Heating systems were running. Her small team was already in lockdown in the lower levels. She was about to head down herself when a red light blinked on the main screen. Incoming signal, emergency frequency, code, Alpha unknown. Eva's heart skipped a beat. An emergency code from outside the human network? That was rare. She tapped a few buttons. Static filled the speakers, broken by short, soft sounds. Crying. Please. Cold. It wasn't a voice she recognized. The tone was high, delicate, almost like a child. But no human child could be out there. The outpost had no children. No nearby stations did either. Location? She asked. Nora responded quickly. Signal is 3.2 kilometers northeast of this station. Source is moving slowly, likely injured or weak. Eva stared at the map. That area was far outside the safe zone. No shelter, no roads, only ice, wind, and death. No life form can survive. Out there, she said aloud. Correct, said Nora. Yet the signal continues. Eva bit her lip. Protocol said stay inside, safety first. But her gut said otherwise. Someone, or something, was out there, alone, in pain. She remembered something. Years ago, on Mars, during a mission gone wrong, she had lost her daughter in a storm. The search team had found her too late. She had cried for help, but no one heard. That memory burned in her chest like fire and ice. I'm going, she said, grabbing her thermal suit. Warning, Nora replied. Survival chances below 10%. Advisable to wait. Noted, Eva said, tightening her gloves. But I'm not waiting. She stepped into the airlock. Cold air blasted her immediately, even inside the station. She pulled up her hood, sealed her visor, and checked her beacon. With every step outside, the storm grew louder. Snow whipped across her faceplate. Her boots sank into deep drifts, and the wind pushed against her like an angry hand. But she kept, going step by step. The landscape was pure white. No shapes, no signs, no color. Just snow and sky blending into one. She followed the signal, checking her handheld device every few minutes. After nearly an hour, she saw it. A small shape in the snow, curled up and shaking. Its skin was a soft blue, glowing slightly in the stormlight. It had no protective suit, only thin wrappings. It was not human. A child. Alien. Alone. Its eyes were wide and bright, tears falling from them like tiny crystals. The drops froze before they hit the ground. Eva dropped to her knees beside the child. Hey. It's okay. I've got you, she said softly. The child looked up. Its eyes glowed faintly, like starlight in the dark. It didn't speak, but it leaned toward her touch. Eva wrapped it quickly in her emergency heat blanket. Its body was cold. Too cold, but still alive. Nora, she called through her comm. I found a life form, unknown species, possibly abandoned, returning now. Understood. Tracking your location, guiding route back. Eva lifted the child in her arms. It was lighter than she expected. She turned and began the long walk back to the outpost. Behind her, the storm roared louder. The wind screamed. Ice cracked beneath her feet. But she didn't stop. She was a human in a frozen world, and someone had needed her. Commander Eva Mirek moved carefully through the deep snow, holding the small alien child close to her chest. The storm was growing stronger and visibility was almost gone, but she did not stop. The child needed help. There was no other choice. The wind howled like a wild animal. Snow slapped against her faceplate. Her boots sank deeper with every step. The signal from her base, Outpost Delta, flickered on her screen, showing the way home. But the journey was slow and dangerous. She looked down at the child. It was still glowing faintly under the thermal blanket. Its eyes were half closed and its tiny body shivered against her. "It's okay," Eva whispered through her suit's speaker. "You're going to be okay. Just stay with me." The child did not answer, but it didn't pull away either. That gave Eva hope. She kept walking. After nearly 2 hours of fighting through the storm, she saw the blinking lights of Outpost Delta in the distance. Relief flooded her chest. "Nora," she said into her comms, her voice rough from the cold. "I'm almost there. Open the airlock." "Airlock opening now," replied the calm voice of her AI assistant. The heavy doors of the outpost slid open just in time. Eva stepped inside. Warmth rushed over her like a wave. The airlock sealed shut behind her. She fell to her knees, cradling the child. Her breathing was heavy and her limbs felt numb. But she had made it. "Scanning life form," Nora said. A soft light passed over the child. "Unknown species. Humanoid. Life signs weak but stable." Eva gently unwrapped the child from the thermal blanket. Its skin was pale blue, almost translucent. It had large, glowing eyes and 3 fingers on each hand. It was clearly not human, but there was something deeply familiar about the fear in its eyes. "Let's get you warm," Eva whispered. She carried the child to the medbay and placed it on a heated bed. Medical systems adjusted automatically, checking its temperature and heart rate. The child looked up at her again. Its eyes glowed a little brighter now. Slowly, it reached out one small hand and touched Eva's glove. Eva didn't move. She let the child's hand rest there. "You're safe now," she said. Hours passed. The storm outside roared louder, shaking the walls of the outpost. But inside, it was quiet. Eva sat beside the medical bed, watching the child sleep. It had stopped shivering and its color had improved. Still, it hadn't spoken. She tried to contact Central Command, but the storm had knocked out long-range signals. No help was coming anytime soon. "Nora," she said, "any update on the child's species?" "Negative," replied the AI. "No match in known databases. Likely origin, deep space, or undiscovered system." Eva leaned back in her chair. She felt tired, but her mind was racing. Why was the child out there? Where were its parents? And how did it survive so long in the cold? Suddenly, the child stirred. It sat up slightly, looking around. When it saw Eva, it relaxed. Eva smiled softly. "Hey there, feeling better?" The child tilted its head. Then it did something strange. It placed its hand on its chest and then pointed at Eva. Va," it said slowly. Eva blinked, in surprise. "Nora, record that. Did it just try to say my name?" "Uncertain," said Nora. "But it may be attempting communication." Eva leaned closer. "Eva, that's me. Eva." The child nodded slowly, then closed its eyes again. It was clearly still weak. Eva sat back, stunned. She had expected a rescue mission, maybe even a dangerous animal. But this was different. This child was intelligent. It could learn, and it trusted her. She stared out the window, watching the snow dance across the ice fields. Somewhere out there, someone or something had left this child behind. On purpose? By accident? She didn't know. But one thing was clear. This child was now her responsibility. Later that night, as the storm pounded the outpost and the world outside froze even harder, Eva stood by the medical bed. The child was sleeping peacefully now, wrapped in warm blankets and surrounded by soft light. Eva gently brushed a strand of fine hair from its forehead. "You're not alone anymore," she whispered. "Not while I'm here." She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know what the child's presence meant or what the galaxy would think. But for now, she had one mission: protect the child. And humans never gave up on their missions. The storm outside continued without mercy. Winds screamed against the metal walls of Outpost Delta, shaking pipes and rattling doors. The snow piled high, covering everything. No one could survive out there now, not even with the best equipment. But inside the small medical room, the alien child was safe. Commander Eva Mirek sat beside the heated bed, her eyes half-closed from lack of sleep. She had stayed there all night watching the child closely. Its breathing was stronger now, its skin looked healthier, and it no longer shivered. Still, the child had not spoken again. But every time Eva reached out, the child leaned closer. It trusted her. That was enough, for now. Eva stood up and stretched. Her body ached, but she ignored it. There were things to do. "Nora," she said, walking into the command room. "Status report." "Storm continues at maximum level," the AI responded. "Power usage normal, external temperature minus 73 degrees Celsius. Eva looked at the screen. The snow outside was so thick it looked like a white wall. "Nora, any communication with Central Command?" "Still no signal. Satellite link damaged." Eva frowned. If she couldn't contact anyone, she couldn't report the alien child. She was completely alone out here, with a fragile life depending on her. She looked over at the power core readings. Stable. But then her eyes caught something else. Warning. Secondary heating coil overload risk. Her heart skipped. The heating coils were old. She had reported them weeks ago, but the repair team never came. Now, with the storm pushing the systems to the limit, the backup heaters were starting to overheat. If the heating coils failed, the temperature inside would drop fast, and the child would not survive. "Nora, how long until overload?" "Estimated 4 hours," Eva thought fast. The primary core was safe, but the old backup coils in the west wing could short out. She needed to shut them down manually. But that area was far from the medical room. If she left, the child would be alone. She looked back at the hallway. The child was too weak to move, and carrying it again through the freezing halls would risk its health. She sighed. She had to choose: stay and keep the child warm, or fix the coils and protect them both from freezing. She chose both. 10 minutes later, Eva was in the west wing, wearing her thermal suit and moving fast. The corridor was freezing, even inside. The outpost. Ice crystals were forming on the walls. She reached the panel and opened it. Sparks flew. The old coils were nearly burning out. If they failed, fire could spread, or worse, the main heating could shut down. She pulled out her emergency toolkit and started working. Her hands moved quickly, guided by experience and instinct. As she worked, her mind drifted to her past. She had once lived on Mars during its early colonization years. Her daughter, Lyra, had been just 6 years old when a power system failed during a storm. They were trapped inside a small dome with no heat. Rescue came too late. Lyra had died in her arms. That day changed everything. Since then, Eva had sworn to never let anyone suffer like that again. Not even an alien child. Especially not an alien child. With a final twist of her tool, the coils powered down safely. The system beeped. Backup power shifted to the east wing. The warning disappeared. Eva stood up, breathing hard. "System stable," Nora confirmed. "Good," she said. "Now let's check on our guest." When Eva returned to the medical room, she found the child sitting up on the bed. It looked confused, but not afraid. "Hey there," Eva said gently. "I had to step out for a minute. Everything's okay now." The child looked at her, eyes glowing softly. Then it pointed at the small heating unit beside the bed. Eva smiled. Yes, that's what's keeping you warm. The child slowly touched the unit, then placed its hand on its chest. A tiny light pulsed there, just once. Then it touched Eva's arm. She felt something, not words, but a quiet feeling in her mind. Warmth, safety. Thanks. It wasn't language. It was emotion. Nora, Eva whispered. Did it just send me a thought? Possibly. Species may have mild telepathic ability. Eva sat down, her heart full of wonder. The child didn't just understand warmth, it felt the kindness behind it. She reached out her hand. The child took it. At that moment, something simple but powerful happened. A connection. Human and alien. Survivor and protector. And in a frozen world far from Earth, a fire was lit. Not from machines, but from something deeper. Compassion. 3 days had passed since Eva Mirek found the alien child in the snow. The storm had finally begun to slow down, and the snow outside was no longer falling as fast. The skies were still gray, but light now reached the ice-covered ground of Glacis 9. The land looked calm, but Eva knew it was never truly safe. Inside Outpost Delta, warmth returned to the halls. The heating system, though old, had held strong after Eva's repairs. Food and supplies were still in good condition, but what gave Eva the most peace was the sound of gentle breathing from the small bed in the medical room. The alien child, whom Eva had started calling Luma, was healing. It could now stand, walk slowly, and drink warm fluids. It had even started showing signs of playful curiosity, touching buttons, staring at light panels, and mimicking Eva's hand movements. Luma had not spoken any full words yet, but Eva felt a clear connection. Through simple touches and glowing expressions, Luma shared emotions, comfort, curiosity, even laughter. But peace would not last long. It began with a sound, a sharp, high-pitched beeping on the outpost's radar system. Eva rushed to the control room and looked at the screen. A small ship had entered the planet's atmosphere. It wasn't human. Its shape was sharp and smooth, with strange energy signals glowing around its wings. Nora confirmed it. Unidentified craft, alien origin, scanning for activity. Could it be from Luma's people? Eva asked. Possibly, the AI said. But signal shows strong weapon power, not civilian. Eva's stomach turned. If this ship was from the same race as Luma, why come in armed? Nora. Any messages from them? No transmissions. Silent approach. Eva watched as the ship hovered above the ice fields, then landed nearly 4 kilometers away from the outpost. Something was wrong. An hour later, motion sensors picked up 3 figures approaching. They were tall, over 7 feet, and wore long, dark suits with glowing lines. Their faces were covered with silver masks. They moved quickly and silently across the snow, as if they knew exactly where they were going. Eva checked the outer cameras. The figures were heading directly toward Outpost Delta. She looked back at Luma, who was now sitting beside her, staring at the screen. "Do you know them?" she asked softly. Luma looked at the screen, then back at Eva. The light in the child's eyes dimmed. It stepped back, clearly afraid. That was her answer. Nora. "Lock down the station. No one gets in," Eva ordered. "Lockdown initiated. All doors sealed," said the AI. Eva grabbed her thermal jacket and emergency kit. Then she turned to Luma and knelt down. "Listen to me," she said gently. "I think they're here for you, but I don't think they're here to help." Luma looked down as if ashamed. Eva placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "You don't have to go with them. I won't let them take you." Luma placed its small hand on Eva's, and again she felt that quiet emotion pass between them. Fear, trust, hope. Eva stood up. She had made her choice. The tall figures reached the outpost. They didn't knock or send messages. They simply began cutting through the main entrance with a hot plasma tool. The metal door glowed red. "Nora," Eva said, "we need to escape. What's the safest route?" Maintenance tunnel leads to supply shelter 2 kilometers north, Nora replied. Access point through basement. Route is narrow but passable. Prepare it, Eva said. She grabbed Luma's hand and ran toward the basement door. Alarms rang behind them as the outpost's front doors gave way. Sparks flew. Footsteps echoed. The chase had begun. Inside the dark maintenance tunnel, Eva and Luma moved quickly. The walls were tight, and icy air blew through small cracks. Eva used her flashlight to guide the way. Luma followed closely, holding onto her jacket. Behind them, faint sounds of pursuit echoed through the tunnel, metal boots striking steel floors. They're coming, Eva whispered. But we'll make it. After 30 minutes of crawling and climbing, the tunnel opened to a hidden hatch. Eva kicked it open and pulled Luma out into the snowy surface. The cold wind hit them again, but the sky above had cleared. Stars were visible, silent watchers of their escape. There, Eva said, pointing to a small supply shelter nearby, half buried in snow. That's where we're going. They ran. Snow crunched under their boots. Eva's breath came fast and heavy. But the shelter was close now, just a few meters more. Suddenly, a blast of energy hit the snow beside them. Ice exploded upward. The tall figures had caught up. Eva picked up Luma in her arms and dashed for the shelter. She slammed the door open and pulled them inside just as another blast hit the ground. She locked the door and dropped to the floor, heart racing. We made it, she whispered. Luma nodded, pressing its glowing hand to Eva's arm. In that moment, they didn't need words. The bond was clear. Human and alien, together against the unknown. Snow fell quietly outside the small supply shelter. Inside, Eva Mirek sat on the cold metal floor, holding a warm blanket. Around Luma, the alien child she had saved. The shelter was small and tight, made for emergencies. It had basic heating, food rations, and a backup power unit, but not much more. Still, it was enough. Luma leaned against Eva, quiet but calm. The fear in the child's glowing eyes had faded a little. For now, they were safe. Eva checked her tablet. The map showed their location, 2 kilometers north of Outpost Delta. The attackers, the tall masked beings, were still nearby. They hadn't given up. Their ship remained in the distance, and drones were flying low over the ice fields. They're searching, Eva said softly, watching the drone lights move across the screen. Luma looked at the tablet too. Its eyes narrowed, as if it understood what those lights meant. Then, slowly, it raised a hand and pointed at the top of the screen. Eva leaned closer. You know where they're from? Luma nodded, then closed its eyes. Suddenly, the room felt warmer, not from heat, but from something else. Eva blinked. In her mind, a picture formed. It was soft and blurry, but clear enough to understand. She saw a large silver ship, glowing, blue from inside. In that ship there were others like Luma, smaller, peaceful beings. They were scared. Then she saw the tall, masked beings. They were not family. They were hunters. She opened her eyes in shock. You escaped from them, she whispered. Luma didn't answer with words. It just nodded slowly. Eva's chest tightened. These attackers weren't rescuers. They were the reason Luma was alone in the storm. They were chasing not to protect but to capture. Nora, Eva said, switching to her AI on the wrist tablet. Update. Luma is a refugee, not a lost child. The pursuers are hostile. Understood, the AI replied. Eva stood up and looked around the shelter. How much power do we have here? Backup systems at 45%, Nora said. Enough for 24 hours of heat and limited use of the scanner, Eva thought quickly. She couldn't wait here forever. The longer they stayed, the more likely the attackers would find them. But the snowstorm had cleared. There was a chance to run or to call for help. Scan for satellites, she ordered. A pause. Then the AI said, 1 relay satellite in range. Weak signal. Possible message window 6 minutes. Eva smiled for the first time in hours. It wasn't much, but it was hope. While Nora worked to connect with the satellite, Eva opened a ration pack and gave Luma some warm liquid to drink. Glum. Child accepted it gratefully, curling up beside her like a sleepy animal. Don't worry, Eva said. I'm going to get us out of this. The moment felt peaceful until the warning light flashed red. Alert, movement detected. Eva jumped to her feet and checked the outside cameras. A drone hovered just above the shelter, scanning the snow. They found us, she whispered. She looked at Luma, who had also stood up. The child didn't cry, but its body trembled slightly. Eva placed both hands on Luma's shoulders. I won't let them take you, she said firmly. Suddenly, a soft beep came from her tablet. Satellite link online. Message window, 6 minutes. Eva worked fast. Nora, send emergency message to Central Command. Code red. Include Luma's image and enemy. Craft details. Sending now, said the AI. Message 12%, 20%, 45%. Outside, the drone's light grew brighter. It circled lower. Eva reached for her flare gun. It was weak but could distract. She loaded it and aimed carefully. 65%, 72%, 80%. She fired. The flare burst in the air, sending a flash of red light through the stormy sky. The drone twisted, its sensors confused. Eva grabbed Luma's hand. Run! They burst out of the shelter and into the snow. The cold bit at Eva's face, but she didn't stop. Her boots slammed into the ground. Luma ran beside her, holding tightly to her coat. Behind them, the drone shrieked and followed. A second one joined it. Eva looked ahead. A deep ice cave lay just over a hill. If they could make it there, the cave walls might block the drones. They ran faster, laser light shot, past her head, burning holes in the snow. Eva didn't look back. Almost there, she shouted. Then, with one final push, they jumped down into the mouth of the ice cave. The drones hovered above, unable to follow through the narrow entrance. Eva collapsed, breathing hard. Luma dropped beside her, exhausted but safe. Message sent, Nora said in her ear. Command has received our signal. Eva smiled through her tired breath. Help was coming, and she would keep Luma safe, no matter what. The ice cave was dark, but safe. For now. Commander Eva Mirek sat with her, back against the frozen wall, her arms around Luma, the alien child who had become more than a mission. Luma had become family. The child's small, glowing hands clung to her coat, and its breathing had slowed. They had escaped the drones, but Eva knew it was only a matter of time before the hunters returned. Her wrist tablet blinked softly. A signal flashed across the screen. Message received by Central Command. Rescue ship en route. Estimated arrival, 3 hours. A wave of relief passed through her. They got our message, Eva whispered to Luma. Help is coming. Luma looked up at her. A soft light shimmered in its eyes. Hope. Eva placed a hand gently on the child's head. We just have to stay hidden a little longer. The cave walls glowed faintly, blue ice catching the light from Eva's gear. The place was silent except for the distant howl of the wind outside. The drones had stopped circling, but that only made her more worried. What are they planning? She muttered. Nora, her AI, replied quietly in her earpiece. Enemy ship still, in position, energy readings increasing, possibly preparing ground sweep. Eva stood slowly, careful not to wake Luma, who had fallen into a light sleep. Then we need to move before they find this cave. She scanned the deeper part of the cave. The ice stretched far inside, twisting and turning like a maze. It wasn't mapped. It was risky, but there was no other choice. With Luma in her arms, wrapped in a thermal blanket, Eva carefully made her way deeper into the cave. The walls sparkled with frost. Strange ice formations hung from the ceiling like frozen teeth. Luma stirred, sensing movement. It looked up at her. Don't worry, Eva said softly. I've got you. As they moved, Luma suddenly raised a hand and pointed toward the left tunnel. Eva paused. You want to go that way? Luma nodded. Trusting the child, Eva turned left. They walked for almost 20 minutes. Then the tunnel opened into a large chamber, filled with glowing crystals. They lit up the entire cave with a soft blue light. Eva stared in awe. What is this place? Luma walked forward, no longer tired. It touched one of the glowing crystals. The light pulsed gently. Then Eva saw it. Symbols on the cave walls. Lines, circles, and glowing marks. Not just ice. Writing. This is your people's language, she whispered. Luma turned and looked at her, placing a small hand on her chest. Eva felt it again. Emotion in her mind. Home. Hidden. Sacred. This cave wasn't just a shelter. It was a memory. Maybe a holy place from Luma's world long ago. The planet had secrets even humans hadn't discovered yet. Eva smiled gently. You're not just lost. You were trying to return to this place. But before she could say more, Nora spoke in her ear. Alert. Enemy energy spike. Small strike. Team moving on foot. Estimated arrival 20 minutes. Eva's calm turned to focus. They were being hunted again. She stood and checked her gear. She didn't have weapons strong enough to fight. But she had one advantage now. The cave itself. She turned to Luma. Do you know how deep this cave goes? Luma nodded, then pointed to the far corner. All right, Eva said. Lead the way. Let's stay one step ahead. As they moved deeper into the ice tunnels, the ground shook slightly. A soft rumble filled the air. What was that? Eva asked. Unknown seismic activity, Nora replied. Possibly ice collapse nearby, caution advised. Eva moved faster. Then they heard it. Footsteps echoing from behind. The hunters were inside the cave. Lights danced on the ice walls behind them. The tall figures had followed the energy trail of Luma's presence. Go, Luma, Eva whispered. Keep moving. They turned into a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for one person. Eva squeezed through, holding Luma's hand tight. Behind them, loud voices called out in a language Eva didn't understand, but the tone was clear. They were angry, and they were close. Suddenly Luma stopped. In front of them was a dead end, a solid wall of ice. No, Eva gasped. We're trapped. But Luma stepped forward and placed its hand on the wall. The crystals around them glowed brighter. The wall of ice shimmered, and a doorway slowly formed, like magic or ancient technology. Eva stared. Is this yours? Luma nodded. They rushed through the door just as the tunnel behind them lit up with enemy lights. The wall reformed, sealing them inside. Safe, for now. Inside the secret chamber was a round space with smooth walls, glowing with strange energy. It was warm here, peaceful, ancient. In the center stood a small platform. Luma stepped onto it and sat cross-legged. The crystals above pulsed gently. The child closed its eyes. Eva watched in silence. Then her wrist tablet beeped again. Rescue ship entering atmosphere. ETA 12 minutes, she looked at Luma. They're almost here. We'll be okay. Luma opened its eyes and smiled. For the first time it spoke. Just one word, soft and clear. Friend. Eva's eyes filled with tears. She sat beside the child, surrounded by the ice, the light, and the warmth of a bond that had crossed stars. The hidden chamber was glowing softly, wrapping Commander Eva Mirek and the alien child Luma in a peaceful light. The danger behind them was real, but here, inside the ancient heart of the ice cave, everything felt calm. Luma sat on the platform, its small hands placed gently on its knees, eyes closed. Energy pulsed around it. The crystals on the walls hummed with warmth, as if they were waking up after a long sleep. Eva watched carefully. She didn't understand how this place worked, but she didn't need to. What mattered was that Luma seemed safe, and for the first time truly at home. Nora, Eva's AI assistant, spoke gently in her ear. Rescue ship entering final descent. Arrival in 6 minutes. Evacuation route required. Ava stood and looked around. There had to be an exit, one the hunters didn't know about. Luma, she whispered. Can you show us the way out? Luma opened its eyes. They glowed brighter than ever. The child stood, walked to the far side of the chamber, and placed its hand on the ice again. The wall shimmered and melted into another glowing tunnel. Eva smiled. Thank you. Together they stepped into the tunnel. Behind them the platform dimmed and the ancient symbols on the wall faded. The secret chamber was going back to sleep, waiting for the next soul in need. Outside the ice cave, the hunters were growing desperate. Their drones had lost the trail and their scanners were failing. The strange energy inside the mountain was interfering with their systems, but one hunter, the tallest among them, pointed toward the upper ridge. He sensed something, a trace of movement, a warmth in the freezing cold. They started climbing toward it. Eva and Luma exited the secret tunnel at the edge of a cliff, just above the valley. The wind hit them hard, but the sky had cleared. Sunlight poured down like gold across the frozen landscape. And above them, they saw it. A silver rescue ship broke through the clouds. It glided silently, its engines soft, almost musical. Eva raised her wrist tablet. Nora, signal the rescue team. Beacon activated, the AI replied. Luma looked up at the ship. For a moment its face filled with wonder. Then they heard it, cracks in the snow behind them. The hunters. Eva turned quickly. 3 tall masked beings were now standing at the edge of the tunnel, weapons raised. Stop! She shouted. This child is under human protection. The tallest hunter stepped forward. He didn't speak, but his meaning was clear. He reached out, demanding Luma be handed over. Luma stepped back, clutching Eva's hand tightly. Suddenly, the crystals around the cliff began to glow again. The energy from the ancient cave had followed them. A deep hum filled the air. The hunter raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Luma raised one glowing hand. The light from the crystals burst forward, creating a shield between them and the hunters. The blast pushed the tall beings back, knocking them into the snow. Eva stared, eyes wide. You did that? Luma didn't answer with words. Instead, the child turned and hugged Eva tightly. The rescue ship landed nearby, its doors opening with a soft hiss. A small team of humans in silver suits ran out, weapons ready, but paused when they saw the child and Eva standing safe together. A voice came through Eva's earpiece. Commander Mirek, we've got your signal. Are you and the asset safe? Eva looked at Luma, then at the team. She's not an asset, Eva said firmly. She's a child, a life worth protecting. The team nodded. One of the officers stepped forward and offered Luma a warm pack. The child hesitated, then took it slowly. For the first time, Luma smiled in front of someone else. Inside the rescue ship, Eva sat beside Luma as the engines lifted them into the sky. Through the window, she saw the frozen world growing smaller. The hunters remained behind, their ship slowly powering down. The shield Luma had created had damaged their systems. They were no longer a threat, at least not today. Where do we go now? Eva asked. Nora responded. Headquarters recommends debriefing at Starpoint Station. Human-Alien Relations Department has requested full review. Eva looked at Luma, who was now asleep, curled up in a blanket. No more hiding, she said. We'll make sure she has a place. A home. The stars above stretched out, wide and endless. Months later on Starpoint Station, Eva stood beside Luma as the child walked into a classroom full of different beings, humans, other alien species, and even robotic companions. Luma turned, smiled at Eva and waved. Eva waved back, her heart full. She had come to a frozen world as a soldier. She left as a protector, a guardian, and a friend. And somewhere in the galaxy, the story of a human who saved a crying alien child during an ice storm would be told for generations, proof that kindness could cross stars, languages, and fear. The end.